So my buddy Lee came over yesterday to play bass for us through the Ampeg B15, and he brought this bass, and aside from being a bit neck divey because of the small Mustang body, it's a pretty nice bass to play, but it's got some noise issues. Number one, here's the single coil buzz when I'm not touching anything. If I touch the control plate, that noise level goes down. If I touch here, noise level goes down. Here, noise level goes down. If I touch the strings, it gets much noisier. The bridge is not grounded. What happens when the bridge is not grounded is your body acts as a big noise antenna, sticks into the strings. There you go. And I don't think the grounds are correct in this because the pole pieces on both pickups also inject noise. So if you play and you touch that pole piece, you get noise in there. It's got some strange wiring. I'm not sure what this switch does. Maybe series parallel. But that makes it noisier. If I turn off the jazz and just have the neck, and then with both pickups off, which should be muted, there's still noise. I go to this pickup. When you're in series parallel or whatever that is, this pickup doesn't have any output, but there's still noise. So this bass, which sounds like this right now, should sound more like this at the very least. I'm doing this with a phone mic instead of the lav so you can hear that better. This is a pretty standard Jazzmaster Jaguar thing. You flip the switch and you've got a preset volume and tone, but that also makes the noise worse. So something's not right beneath this plastic and this metal. Let's find out what, because Lee's a great guy, good player, deserves to have a quiet, reliable instrument. I like these hip shot bridges. Besides sounding good and feeling good, they make changing strings pretty easy. In this case, I've got a capo at the first fret, so they're not going to fly everywhere. Just need them out of the way for this. All right. No ground wire whatsoever. Massive corrosion on the base of this, and lots of yuck on the body. So let me get some naphtha. We're gonna clean this off, and see how we can get a wire from this bridge to the rest of it for a good ground. Now let's do something about that yuck on the body first. This is naphtha, lighter fluid. Should be finished safe on this. Won't leave any solvents behind. And we'll get this yuck right off. Don't throw these in your trash. Let them air dry in the sun and then dispose them outside. That's where the ground wire is supposed to be, right there. Is this buffing compound that got trapped? I don't know. It did a number on the bridge hardware too. We'll get to that in a second. Get some of this compound out of... Now, there is a ground wire. There is a ground wire. It was just covered in all that corrosion. I don't like this ground wire, but I can probably use this to pull a new, better one through. I'll get some more of this yuck off here. But between all the corrosion here and this here, that ground wire was not making contact with the metal of the bridge, which is pretty important. We can shine all this up later. That naphtha won't, unless this finish was done really poorly, this naphtha won't affect anything. All right, that's better. Now, as for this, that's why I have it in this large thing of naphtha. I'm gonna let that just soak for a while I do other things. I'm gonna take it outside just because I don't like the smell. I also washed my hands because I had that white powder all over them. And not in any fun sense. This is hard to do with the camera here. Let me remove all these screws. I'm just gonna take the screws off. With the camera out of the way, then I'll move it back. I think you guys know how it works. Okay, let's take this apart now. Lift the guard off. By the way, all the screws used here are the same size, so I didn't have to sort them out and so they can be put back in any particular place. A little bit of a tight file around the neck pocket in that pickup. All right, I got black paint. cloth and braided wires run various places. Black paint with what should be a ground tab, which means that this should be shielded. Be helpful if this were shielded too and connected to that, but we shall see. And again here, that explains why when you touch these things, the noise gets better. But the bridge, which is this wire here, that's a fine wire. I think it's just the corrosion. Let's see if we have continuity from different points of the cavity. I'm going to look through, and before I do anything else, I'm going to see how this is wired, and I want to see that the blacks and whites of these pickups are run correctly. Or is this the bridge wire? I think this is the bridge wire here. It's a crappy little one. All right, black from this pickup is going to ground, and black from this pickup is going to this switch. I think they got some kind of series thing. So let me see what's going on. Okay, I've drawn out what they've done, and it's a fairly standard series parallel switch that takes the negative of the neck either to ground or through the bridge pickup to ground. Then the bridge pickup positive, if it's on by itself, goes to this switch. The neck positive, or the output of the neck positive, is tied when this switch is not in the rhythm circuit to this one. This one feeds the volume pot. It's got the tone circuit on that side of the volume pot. They've got a resistor across that top half of the tone pot that changes the taper. So be it, no big deal. The wiper that goes here, and if the rhythm circuit's disconnected, unselected, it feeds the output. So all that's fine. The issue is when you have series parallel with very noisy single coils, it can just exacerbate things. And that's why when it was in parallel mode and the bridge pickup was turned off, we had no output. So no more mysteries. All that's fine. Now, this wire does not want to pull through this hole, and I don't want to enlarge that hole and risk damaging the finish or having anything go south. So what I'm going to do, this wire that was very corroded, I'm going to tin that. Then I'm going to do something else on the other side of the bridge to make sure we have a good connection in the future. First, let's tin that without hurting the finish. Neat little trick there, huh? The tinning will drive dirt and corrosion out of that wire and make it harder for it to return. And I can't see what I'm doing. I need to move the camera. And it had so much corrosion in it, it doesn't want to take the solder, but it will. I would have preferred to replace this wire with some fresh for that reason, but it's just wedged in that hole, and I don't want to re-drill that if I don't have to. That's a plan C. Now that will get repurposed in a little bit. More will happen with that. The pickups are lollers, which are good, but they do make noise if you touch the pole pieces. So I have slit these rubber pads off the back with a razor. They can go back on in. It'll be fine if they're not adhesed in onto the pickup. Just makes it a little bit trickier to line up the first time. And with the razor, I've scraped the adhesive off the pole pieces. I'm going to do a bit more with my thumb. Just let it gum up and peel off even more. I want to have good contact on those pole pieces. And I'll brush off any little bits of adhesive that may find their way onto the base and into the cavities. Speaking of the cavities, the bridge cavity is not fully shielded in that it has shielding paint, but it's not tied to anything. There's no continuity. That's just black paint there. There's nothing. So I've got the pole pieces exposed, good bare metal. I've scraped each one with the razor. This one doesn't have enough slack to turn around fully. And I'm going to take some of this adhesive copper foil tape I've got and cut some strips. This will not change the sound of the pickup. Not in any real way, not any real objectionable way. And it's a lot better than having it noisy. It only takes one neon Coors Light sign on stage to ruin your gig. These pieces don't have to be precise. They just need to cover the pole piece area and not have any excess. And not touch the black or positive connections unless you want them to, and very much intentionally want them to. Doesn't have to be perfect. No one's going to see it after this, except for, however many thousand watch this video. All right, so I get it so it touches the pole pieces, but not those connections for hot and, damn it, not the connections for hot and ground on the pickup there. Though I will use one on the bridge pickup, because this one is done series parallel. We don't want these pole pieces, when in series mode, to be part of the signal. All right, now I'm going to use the tip of this Sharpie, which is fairly rounded without any jagged edges, and really make sure that it's adhered on the pole pieces. Do the same thing for the bridge. All right, this bridge one's going to be the easier of the two. With a bridge pickup, I'm going to very carefully do it on this side so I can work with a negative connection. I'm going to take this pushback cloth-covered wire that I use in fenders. I'm restoring old ones. Just getting a little bit extra length here, exposed. And I'm going to work really hot and fast and solder that right there. I'm not going to try to tuck it down or do anything fancy. I just want it to stick, because you only have a certain window, and I don't want to have to rewind a waller, which I mean pay to have Jason rewind it for me. All right, bribe myself a little more there. I'm just going to solder that to that, so the copper on the bottom of this pickup, which will be contacting all the pole pieces, will be at ground. Snip that excess. Now, as I was working very hot and very fast, won't melt the wax inside the pickup. Nothing's going to change with the pickup sound or longevity. Now I want to make sure that I have continuity from ground to pole piece. So I'm measuring like 16 ohms, not full continuity. If I measure here though. All right, I got continuity from this ground to the bridge ground. So let me put that right there. And we'll do a different thing on this one, because I want this to be at ground, but I don't want to tie it to the negative of the pickup, because the negative of the pickup will not always be ground in this circuit because of the series parallel. So we feed this wire through into the main cavity. Well, I can't do that, so instead of grounding it to the bridge, my preference, I'll ground it to this little lug that's already in here, and just give it enough slack that it can come out. The pickup can come out for service as needed. It doesn't have to be mechanically strong. It's not going to have any stress on it. It just needs to be electrically connected. So here, I'll give myself, that much slack. I'm going to do it this way, so future techs won't get mad at me. There we go. Triple check continuity there. That's good. All right, pickup's back in. The metal control plate's back in place, but not all the way tight, because I know that pick guards are not all the same and need to have some wiggle room. But before we do anything else, let's go take a look at that bridge that's been soaking in naphtha. All right, so it's been in the naphtha almost an hour. And a lot of the yuck is off, but you can see that there's just so much pitting on the chrome. I'm going to take some 220 grit sandpaper, see how this knocks off. Got a whole bunch of yucky powder here I got to clean up. The worst of the flaking is off here. Now, this is a hip shot style bridge, but I don't see anywhere on here that actually says hip shot, so I don't know if this is a knockoff or what. I've never seen that kind of plating flaking off on an actual hip shot, but I'm gonna let this thing get some more naphtha so I can get all that dust off, and we'll see how we do. I decided that sanding was not enough. I wanted one spot on this damn bridge where there's not going to be any possible flaking chrome. So I exposed some metal with the Dremel. I'm going to sand that a little bit smoother than that, and that's where the ground wire will make contact. Underneath that nasty plating, it looks to be aluminum, so we should be good. All right, let's reunite these things. Let's see if we have ground. So this was in a groove in the body there. I'll put it so it's in a fresh spot. Should make good contact with this bridge. I'm going to center it by hand. And before I put it all together, let's see if I have continuity to the output jack now. When I press down. Yeah, I do. I don't have the meter set to beep. Here, I'll give you a beep. And that'll get better as this is tightened. I like to do the outer holes, outer screws first by hand. That's where everything lines up. It's possible to go too fast or too hard at first with the power tool. Even if you know what you're doing and you have the control over the torque and everything, you just don't get that tactile feedback that you get. That G-string saddle seems really far forward. I'm suspicious of the intonation. I don't know whether it moved through all this work or whether it was just in the wrong place to begin with or what. But continuity still, for the first time in a long time on this bass. Yes. I put the strings on, see how we're doing at this point. Okay, all those changes made, where are we at? So I've got both pickups on and it's in parallel mode, so it's like a jazz bass, only with the master volume and tone. So let's turn the volume up. Very quiet. Take my hands off the strings. A little bit of hiss. Touch the strings. Hiss goes away. I'm not a big fan of that tone circuit. It makes it really bright when it's on 10. I'll turn it down a little bit. So if I take my hands off the strings and I touch this pole piece on this bridge pickup, no difference. If I touch the neck pole piece, the hiss is still there. Now I know I have that grounded to that ground lug underneath. I don't know that that wire from that ground lug is a good connection to the actual ground. I'm gonna revisit that before I button it all up. But even so, if I am touching the strings, then you don't get that noise. So when you're playing, odds are your left hand's gonna be fretting and your thumb's gonna be on that low E string or very close by. And that pole piece noise is already gone most of the time. I'd like to get it so it's always gone like it is on the bridge. Other than that, they are reverse wound like a jazz bass. So if you go to either pickup soloed, you get the single coil noise, but now that the bridge is grounded, it's much, much less than it was. That bridge pickup is still too high. I put it together, but I haven't adjusted the pickups or the intonation yet. And when neither pickup is on, there's no noise in the output because the grounds have been fixed. I'm not a huge fan of the series mode. Yeah, I think it's a little overkill. Maybe it'll be better once I get the pickup height adjusted. And this circuit activates only the neck pickup regardless of where these are set. So I can turn off this stuff and still have sound out of the neck. You have a volume and a tone. So if you want to preset that for like a Motown thump, and then have a real bright sound other than that, flip that one switch. That's too high. So that's kind of nice. I'm not convinced it's that much faster than it's turning off the bridge and rolling off the tone. But, you know, unlike a lot of Jaguars and Jazz Masters, I think that could actually find a use. Kind of an odd bass, even though that's a P-bass neck pickup. Overall, it's very much jazzy in sound. It's got a little Mustang body, very neck divey. He's got a thick leather strap That would bother me about this. And it's got a huge, fat P-bass neck on it. So fat P-bass neck, very heavy, tiny little Mustang body, jazzy sound, but you can flip one switch and go to a dark P-bass. I forgot how to play that wonderful part. I need to relearn that, but the sounds are there. And you can also just use the tone control here. I think it's a little bright, but that jazz is high, so. We'll revisit that ground wire. I set the pickup heights, and I'm gonna triple check the intonation. And I think Lee will be very happy with this wonderful sounding instrument. Now that it doesn't make awful sounds all the time.